Hey guys, Scripted, we're here with another video, and so there's all this buzz about Pablo Hidalgo revealing that George Lucas loves the Kenobi show. So I just want to listen to this, and I'll give you my take on it. I have serious doubts of the validity of this, but let's just see what he says here.
Dancing between the raindrops of it all, right? It's like there was smaller gaps of free space in there to tell us things we didn't know. And even if we were going to tell us things that we didn't know and that fit, that ultimately, physically and mathematically fit, you are dealing more with a realm that people have imagined and that people have really built a strong sense of assurance of, I know what happened between these gaps. Yeah.
Okay, so just in case you don't know, Hidalgo's like one of the head creative team, executive creative team, whatever, story group, whatever you want to call it. And right then and there, he's admitting that, number one, the fans were sure, right? He just finished saying the fans were sure they knew what happened during this timeline, and that there's very little room to really add anything to the story, essentially, was what he said before that, right? But that's because George Lucas told us what was going on during that time period, right? It's not because we just made it up. It's because we were told that Obi-Wan became a recluse, and he lived on Tatooine, and he watched over Luke, and then he never saw Vader. George Lucas has said this. He never fought him before New Hope. Between Revenge of the Sith and The New Hope, they make no contact, which makes sense when you watch A New Hope and the dialogue and everything else that's going on. So, no, Pablo. He's making it almost sound like we're sure because we're sure. No, we're sure because we were told, right? That's pretty much why.
And so there were a couple of elements that that ultimately gave us the confidence to move forward. Part of that was interfacing with George, honestly, early on.
Really? So so listen to what he's saying. We didn't have confidence to go forward with this show because what he said previously, people already knew what had gone on and there wasn't much room to do anything else. But then we got assurances from George. There were two reasons why we went forward with the show. If your starting block, if your initial reality before you write this show is, we probably shouldn't write this show for reason A, B, C, D, which is essentially what he was saying. Why would you force the issue? Okay, so he's saying that he got his assurances. One was George Lucas. Okay.
There was a conversation had with George over what his thoughts were, and whether or not, honestly, he balked at the whole concept of, we're taking Obi-Wan and Vader again, and we're doing this, and he was 100% supportive, and I've heard tell that it's been one of the favorite things that's come up.
So he had a conversation. Some of the people on Twitter and YouTube have been kind of alluding he was involved. Oh, he was heavily involved in Kenobi. He had a conversation with George, apparently. And that George was all for Vader versus Kenobi. Okay, that... First of all, George is very well known for changing his mind and contradicting himself. So that is potentially believable. But my whole thing is I look at the timeline of this. So Disney stock has been going down. It went down again today, 5%. That's a huge amount. It continues to plummet. People are not happy. Your customer base is not happy with the decisions you're making. Various different reasons, right? Whether it's the parks, the costs, the shows themselves, the movies, whatever. People are not happy. Your stock is going down. The primary shareholder as an individual is George Lucas of Disney shares. George Lucas, after calling Bob Iger and the people that made the sequels the white slavers, right? He basically said after The Force Awakens they ruined it and didn't do the story he wanted, and one of the things he wanted was the story of Darth Vader's grandchildren, as in more than one. And of course, we know in the EU there was the twins and there was the Skywalker son, all that stuff, whatever. But either way, he said the grandchildren. So he was very much against what they had done, right? Then fast forward 10 years later, and there's a proxy war about the board of governors at Disney. The same guy, Bob Iger, who he called a white slaver, essentially, the same board, he endorsed because money. And now, a month later or 2 months later, now he's... All of a sudden, this is coming out now that George Lucas was all about the Kenobi show and all about Vader versus Kenobi, right? All of a sudden now, 2 years after the Obi-Wan Kenobi show comes out. So I'm calling BS on this. I'm saying this is absolute bubkiss. I will say this could very well be coming from George. Hey, tell everybody that I was for this. But this is bullcrap. He would have came out himself and said this 2 years ago when the show came out. Why wouldn't he? He's the primary shareholder, and he'd be promoting a show that would make more money, right? If he's behind it, there's a chance it makes more money, right? Just like when he's behind Bob Iger, he stays on the board, right? Just like when he says, oh, all of a sudden I love all this new stuff, so go out and buy it, right? Why didn't he come out 2 years ago? Because at that time he wasn't into it, but the stock has plummeted so much now that he's endorsing this garbage is what is happening. So I don't think this is real at all. I think this was completely strategic, and it's just a load of crap as far as I'm concerned. Not to say he's not for it, but it's a load of crap. He never said this. There's no possible way.
Of Star Wars is because he recognizes so much of what he did in the prequels, basically brought forward and celebrated in a way that I'm sure surprised him. You know, I'm so glad that.
And then he says, I heard through the grapevine that George liked it. And, and then he just makes up a bunch of stuff that he doesn't know whether George actually said that. Oh, yeah, he would have liked it because it brings in the prequels and does this and does that. And it validates his story. And no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It does not do that at all. It's the opposite. But notice he's just making that up now, right? So I heard that George said he liked it, and now I'm going to make up a bunch of reasons why. Right? So... I suspect the initial conversation was, I guess if you guys can do it, yeah, I mean, if you can make it work within my storyline, I guess it might be cool. That's what I think happened, the conversation that happened, the actual conversation. That's just my opinion, but again, it's 2 years later. Why wasn't this brought up before? Why didn't George come out and say it himself, right? And then, I heard through the grapevine that he liked it, and then he just makes up a bunch of stuff. A bunch of reasons why that he has no idea whether George feels that way or not. So this is just more garbage. This is more these people that are supposed to be responsible for the timeline and responsible for keeping the lore correct, continue to fail to do so, just to make a quick buck. Oh, look at the lightsabers, Kenobi, Vader, instead of really caring and taking the time. And so this is just them stroking themselves into thinking that they made good decisions when they made really piss poor decisions. And I don't think it's going to work even with George. Like even if George came out and said he liked it, I don't think that's going to work anymore. I think they've done too much damage now to the point where I don't think people care. And I think George has now made himself an enemy with the whole supporting the board after they supposedly ruined his work, his babies, he called them, and they ruined them. So I don't think people respect George Lucas anymore. I mean, we respect what he created. We respect the movies he made and his vision, but outside of like those 6 films, all the other stuff he's done and the changing his mind and this and that and all this stuff since Disney's taken over, I don't think a lot of people respect that. I don't think a lot of people respect him for that. Right? Now all of a sudden he's supporting this stuff that he didn't support. He said in that interview with the elementary students or whatever, junior high students, that Zoom call, that, it's just not mine anymore. They're not doing what I would have done. It is. And now all of a sudden he's now all about it when Disney stock's going down the toilet. Like, you guys, like, it's just money, which is sad because if they were his babies and the artistic side of it was the big issue for him and the creative side of it, what happened? Because he's got like $10 billion. Is it not enough, George? You need more? Like, why don't you just sell your stocks and move on? Buy a different stock. In fact, you probably should, because they're probably going to keep going down.
Everyone who was involved in the prequels is really feeling the appreciation that was put into that series, because that's 100% there.
Who? Name names, Pablo. He said everyone involved with the prequels really liked the Kenobi show. Name names, bro. He's not naming any names. He did not name a name.
But, you know, we recognize there were big swings in that series. It's like we wanted an investment in Leia, which will take people aback. It's like I didn't consider, I hadn't known whether or not Leia and Obi-Wan had interacted in that.
No, we did know. You fought with my father in the Clone Wars. We did know, Pablo. See, this is the thing. See how they think they're smart and they're going to manipulate us as fans into believing that? Like believing that we believed something else? No one believed that. Everyone accepted for decades that Leia was in the hands of Bail, right? The Organas. She was protected. Luke was protected by Obi-Wan. Nobody ever thought that Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi met. And the way you did it was even stupider, because she would have said, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you saved me from kidnappers. We need you. She wouldn't say, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars. She's saying you fought with my father in the Clone Wars to identify who she is to him, because he knew her father, right? She wouldn't need to do that if they'd already met and had all this time together and he saved her from kidnappers. So he's trying to convince you that there was a possibility of them meeting when there wasn't. They're stupid. And it was a stupid cash grab. It was low budget. It was a terrible, terrible show. And he's trying to convince us that George loves it and that the time frame in between Kenobi and Revenge of the Sith was ambiguous and nobody knew what was going on and fans just were just in the dark. And no, like this guy is like, I don't know if he just thinks he's smarter than everybody else. We're not dumb, Pablo. We know what you're doing.
But then you find these threads and you find these grains, and you know, it wasn't my pitch, but the various screenwriters that were involved in the project were able to basically show their work. They were able to surface the fact that, you know, when Luke tells Leia that he's there with Ben Kenobi, he doesn't say Obi-Wan Kenobi, he says Ben Kenobi, and Leia reacts to Ben Kenobi with a level of familiarity that kind of opened the door.
No, it's because she's been told about him from her dad. She's been told the stories of the Clone Wars. Like, no. That doesn't... The only thing that breeds familiarity is the name and what he represents. Because he represents, in her mind, the last Jedi in the galaxy. And she's been told all these stories and read the historical stuff on Alderaan and heard from her dad. No, you're just making this up for a cash grab for Kenobi versus Vader, sell more lightsabers. That's all this is now. It's all Star Wars is now. And don't get me wrong, it's always been about making money, but it was not always at the expense of the art. There were various details that maybe that's true, yes, but it wasn't overall like that. They didn't make a whole set of movies or shows that ruined everything just to make money. They sometimes implemented some things in there, we all know, especially in the prequels, but whatever. So no, she knew Ben Kenobi's name from those stories she was told and was excited because she knew that, oh my gosh, you've been in contact with the last Jedi on Earth as far as she was concerned, on Earth, in the galaxy as far as she was concerned. That's why. It's not hard to figure out, but he thinks we're all stupid. And then he can manipulate us into thinking this makes sense when it doesn't.
And in the same way, like the line that lingered on a lot of people's minds was Vader in Return of the Jedi telling Luke that Obi-Wan once thought how you did. And the prequels never gave us that.
Yes, they did? What is wrong with you? Obi-Wan was thoroughly convinced that Anakin was the chosen one. That he was going to bring balance to the Force by destroying the Sith. Fully convinced. That's why I was so devastated at the end. Oh my gosh, these people. What is wrong with these people? I don't get it, you guys. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know how somebody like this can be one of the executives in a story group that's meant to keep continuity and lore and not contradict stuff. Like, how do these people that are so incompetent end up in these positions? What did he do, like, to get there? I don't get it. And he makes these bold claims, like in another interview I watched. Oh, well, I got the job because people just saw that I knew so much about Star Wars and I was always answering their questions. Yeah, anyone can answer a question. The question is, did you answer it with truth or just your BS like you're doing in this interview, making up lies, making things up and thinking fans are stupid? Wow, there's a level of narcissism and arrogance at Lucasfilm that is just beyond the pale. And I hope Favreau stays out of it and they never make that stupid Mando movie, because I still have some respect for Jon Favreau. He's done a lot of cool stuff in his career. And I do like the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I don't love them. They have problems, but they're pretty good. They're the best thing that Disney's come out with. I hope he just walks away. Get out of there while the getting's good, bud. Just go do something else. You're way more talented than these hacks.
Quality, so among the filmmakers, among the writers, Stuart Beatty was one of them, really zeroed in on that line and wondered, does that mean that there was a confrontation, a moment where Vader and Obi-Wan conversed, and Obi-Wan was able to express that I still think, there's good in you, and Vader closes that door.
No, it was dealt with in Revenge of the yeah.
So it's funny. It's like all these pieces were there, and like honestly, the biggest reason to do it is that Ewan and Hayden wanted to do it. And,
then do it if they want to do it. I mean, if they don't care about the lore and the fans, and they just want to make a show for themselves, well then you got to do it, right? The actors wanted to do it, so we had to do it because we can make money off of it. How do you guys see what's going on here, right? You see how the disdain they have for you as fans. They hate you. They hate you. They just want your money. Ewan hadn't done anything in a while. Needed to do a show, make some money. Hayden, make some money. Get some eyeballs on me. Do you guys see this? If Hayden and Ewan cared about the story and cared about the fans, they would be like, no, I'm not doing this. This doesn't add up. Find something else. Write a different story about Kenobi that doesn't involve seeing Vader and Vader on Tatooine and all this nonsense. Do something else. But they don't. They just don't. Because they don't care about you. Right? They don't care about you.
Game, and they wanted to revisit those characters, so how can you say no to that? We'll make it work. We'll find a way to make it work.
Well, yeah. How can you say no to them wanting to revisit their characters? We'll find a way to make it work, even if it breaks lore and is just a total stupidity. Way to go! Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. This is just so insulting. Like, these people are the worst human beings on Earth. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're the worst people in Hollywood, I'll say, in terms of what their priorities are and what they're really trying to achieve. I like that it's failing. I like that it's backfiring and the money is draining. It is circling the bowl, but they never cared about you guys, man. They never cared. Disney never cared. They never cared about anything. They never cared about George. It's gotten so bad that even George is like, I don't even care anymore. I just want to make my money. Do what you want, whatever. And then they just make stuff up. He just makes up stuff. Everything's fake. Everything's just ridiculous. And the reasons they give are absolutely ridiculous. This is the most insulting interview I've heard in a while. A long while from somebody involved with Star Wars. But like I said, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. And check out anything else on my channel. Have a really good day.